Hey everybody! After 2 weeks with strep throat, my voice is back and so am I. I'm also really behind. So will I finally dig into the long-awaited Hush Batman? Or maybe Knightfall Catwoman? How about that Christian Bale Batman head swap video I promised? Nope! I'd rather rant about this new 4-inch tall Spider-Man figure that no one cares about. Stick around to find out why, and why you should care. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting off with the packaging, and nope, this wasn't in the $5 bin at Big Lots. We do have the familiar basic Spider-Man elements. We last looked at that with this Carnage 2-pack. Tiny little window for Miles like we're talking to him in prison. Up here we see the accessory he comes with, and down here we see this is the Epic Hero Series. On the back we get 2 more shots of Miles and his accessory, and all this legal. If that wasn't enough, there's even more down here. There's also a whole double-sided insert. Is there some reason why my action figure has more fine print than my antidepressants? I've got to take the antidepressants because of how Hasbro toys with my emotions. That should be the company slogan. In terms of basic elements, I like this well enough, but I can't help but feel that the extra tall box is trying to deceive you into thinking you're getting more. And again, that tiny window feels more like an open casket. And that's what this is, a funeral. We've gathered together to pay our respects to a toy company that continues to disrespect us. We're also saying goodbye to the retro line of Marvel Legends. Don't think it's a coincidence that they announced that this line was ending right before quietly rolling these out. Even so, this is meant for kids and it is nice and colorful. So, for packaging, I'm giving Miles half a point. Moving on to presentation, and as promised, Miles is 4 inches. At a glance, and as tiny action figures go, I actually don't hate this. The basic proportions are fine, and I'm impressed to see that they sculpted detail for the logo and bands. It would have been very easy and cost-effective just to have a blank Spider-Man body that they painted. They even did it on the back. Also, the ribbing on his fingers has been individually sculpted. Some of the web lines don't line up perfectly, but they've all been painted. Can't say the same thing for Peter Parker, unfortunately, and the red's nice and vibrant. A little bit of mispaint on the left shoulder. Additionally, the eyes are very crisp and bright. Flipping them around, and here's the webbing bag there. A decent amount of musculature for a Spider-Man body. The kneecaps, while a bit bony, do hide the joints. And in a turn that may surprise you for presentation, I'm giving this Miles 1 whole point. Moving on to posability, and Miles gives me mixed feelings. Again, this is supposed to be a basic figure with the emphasis on the word basic. From the top, and his head's in a ball joint. I'm sure that the head size and packaging is designed to minimize head stealing, but we all know it's gonna happen. Using that ball joint, and he can look up this high, which is to say not at all, and he can look down this far, which again is to say not at all. He does get the slightest amount of tilt though, and all the way around. Swivel hinge shoulders reach just under 90 degrees, but that's largely because the shoulder strap gets in the way. Moving down, he has single jointed swivel elbows, but unfortunately nothing at the wrist. He also has nothing in the torso, and then moving down, I thought that these were going to be T-style swivel hips, but instead they can swivel and hinge. Don't get me wrong, this is pretty hideous, but it is a lot more functional than the last basic Miles Morales figure we looked at. Lastly, he has single jointed swivel knees. In combination with the hips, they kind of compensate for a lack of thigh cut. Not really though. And alas, nothing in the ankle. Now you might be thinking, come on Jason, what do you want for a 4-inch figure? These retro-style Marvel Legends didn't even have elbows or knees. And while that is true, I would direct your attention to this 4-inch Marvel Universe Iron Man. Although he is slightly larger than 4 inches, he is in the same basic scale. He has the same ball-jointed head, the same swivel hinge shoulders, and the same single-jointed swivel elbow. And yet they managed to also work in torso articulation, ball-jointed hips which look way more natural, double-jointed knees, and ankles that can hinge and pivot. This figure is from 2016, so why on earth have we gone backwards? If Hasbro can afford to shrink this down into this for the same price, they can afford a couple of extra joints. For posability, I'm giving Miles half a point. Moving on to playability, at least we forget Miles Morales' epic gear. How epic. I know that the yellow webbing is supposed to mimic his electrified Venom Strike power, but I just can't help but feel it looks like something else. else. Something streaming all over Spider-Man and the Marvel figures I know and love. But playability is more than just not so thinly veiled potty humor. You're in for some action figure comparisons. Starting off with my Miles collection, and here we have Into the Spider-Verse. This of course was one of my very first reviews. Next up, and here we have the Gamerverse version. Hands down, this is the best Miles Morales that Marvel Legends has made. Here's the same figure, but invisible. Here's the Miles from the Carnage 2-pack we've looked at. For some perspective, that 2-pack was $22. That means this Miles is only $11. Here we have the Across the Spider-Verse basic Miles, which was only $10. That brings us to my favorite game. What'll $10 get me? This Mario from Jack's Pacific is only $10. This Lanyard Toys Alien 3 figure complete with Rottweiler and Facehugger is only $10. And for $10 you can also get this giant can of chock full of nuts. That equals 240 cups of coffee. And then when I die I can have my ashes put in it, like in the bucket list. You know, because I spent all my money on action figures and can't afford a proper burial. And unlike action figures, it's infinitely recyclable. Getting back to action figures though, and the very important Batman scale, here we have him with the Pocket Heroes Batman by Mego. Next we have Superpowers, which we can already see is too big, but just to drive that point home, and here we have a movie version by Kenner, and the all-new Superpowers from McFarlane Toys. First thing a bit too small, and here's the Arkham City Batman by Mattel, but for one that's just right, and here we have Spin Master. This brings me to the theory I've been building up to all along. Hasbro made this as the Marvel equivalent of this. I'm going to explore this concept more in the next category, but for now we can see these scale really well. So with that in mind, here we have Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and Aquaman. That said, for some other smaller scale figures, and here's that Marvel Universe Iron Man, here we have Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. Your lightning abilities are most impressive. I'm also a fan of your color scheme. For some other Spider-Mans, and here we have the original Secret Wars version from 1984. Scaling-wise, this works pretty well. That said, looking at one of the earliest Toy Biz figures, and we can see that anything from that point onward is going to be too big. But then if we look at the retro-style Marvel Legends, we can see that those are way too small. But as long as we're talking about Webhead, for a relative scale comparison, here's Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man, who's half of an action figure, but has twice the points of articulation. As cool as it is to have a Spider-Man that can play with your Justice League, on his own he just doesn't have a lot going for him. For playability, I'm giving this Miles half a point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. I got this Miles at Target for $10.99. That's $11. So then, let's revisit the Spin Master DC figures. They come in colorful blister cards. Unlike the Epic Hero series, most of the figure is on display, and as a nice little nod to collectors, they even have a holographic sticker to let you know if it's the first edition. The box does a great job of advertising its mystery accessory feature. On the back we have other figures in the wave and a reiteration of that feature, and unlike Hasbro, somehow we don't have more fine print than a car warranty. Cracking into that package, and again we have the same scale, we also have a surprising amount of sculpted and painted detail given the size. Articulation wise, we have posability at the head, a swivel hinge shoulder, single jointed swivel elbows. Unlike Miles, we have ball jointed hips that look way more natural and also get a perfect split. Similar to Miles, we have single jointed swivel knees, but unlike Miles, Spin Master gives us thigh cut. Moving on to accessories, and we have our mystery boxes. Admittedly, I don't know what this is, but it has painted ha-has on it. He also has a crowbar, which is a nice nod to how Jason Todd was beaten nearly to death by the Joker. Not only that, but he comes with not one, but two swords. That's 4 accessories. Not only that, but instead of a manifesto, Spin Master gives us a full color poster. And depending on where you buy them, they're between $7 to $8. If Spin Master can do all of this, then Hasbro has no excuse for this. All that being said, I do actually really like the scale. One of the best things when I was a kid was just how well so many of our toy lines scaled together. You could mix and match heroes who'd never otherwise go together for even more epic adventures. These days it feels like every toy line exists in a vacuum where nothing really scales together. Even in a single line, figures don't always scale. I'm happy that kids today can mix and match their heroes together again. But between the two companies, Spin Master is killing it, and Hasbro is just killing your wallet. For price, I'm giving Miles 0 points for a not so epic total of 2.5 out of 5. But hey, that's just how I feel. Your miles may vary. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.